Right now I'm basically just like, I'm at a point with the vision of what I want to create for the roof, where I can kind of start looking through the piles of wood that I've harvested and picking out brush strokes, basically is how I think of it. Like, there's certain lines that I want to see, and then I'm always open to them changing based on the natural shape of the wood. But when I find something like these two that are just a perfect match of a kind of a shape that I want to incorporate, and there's two of them, which is what I need, I get really excited.
Yeah, they do look great.
Yeah, they're nice together.
Yeah.
My next step right now, before I can put rafters on, is I'm going to put the beams that connect the tops of all the posts. So I'm currently going through the piles over there and selecting the right pieces based on their length and diameter and based on the kind of shape that I'm trying to create for the wall. And then the roof rafters come down. So I just try to kind of have an inventory of the pieces that I'm going to need based on how many primary beams and rafters I know I need. Now most of the posts are up. So I just don't want to use anything that could be better used for something else, because I'm trying not to harvest any more wood for this project. And so each selection is really particular. But yeah, what I want to demonstrate with this one is just that it's likely to have its weight out that way. You can see it's kind of floating over there. And then I'm cutting it here, so I wouldn't want to be cutting this from the bottom all the way through, because it's going to end up closing on the blade and pinching it. So I'll cut it from the top, but I'll start the cut on the bottom just to score it so that it doesn't rip as it breaks. Because if I just cut from the top the whole way through, as it starts to weigh itself down and the cut rips open, it'll just rip the last little bit of it. So from the bottom and then from the top. If that was sitting on something where I could tell that there was more weight here, then I would score it at the top and cut from the bottom. I do always wear safety glasses. Well, usually. I should always wear them. A little bit bigger than it needs to be. I left all these posts really long, a lot longer than I needed to on most of them, but I have now finally laid out how I want the roof to be shaped. And I did that with string, which is always a good trick just to be able to get a real visual, especially when you're not working with a blueprint, just to be able to get a visual before you make cuts that can't be undone. But yeah, I mean, typically it would make a lot more sense to cut everything on the ground, but I just didn't really know how long they had to be, so now I'm going to start cutting the posts at their new and permanent heights. And I'm going to do that basically in the same way that I would fell a tree with a wedge cut. So I'll be cutting like a pie-shaped wedge into the face of the tree in the direction that I want it to fall. And then I'll be doing a back cut behind that wedge, just above the wedge at an angle down to meet it, so that the tree falls the way I want it to. I'll just push it off. notice this one tried to come this way a little bit, and that's because that's downhill. So sometimes even when you make a wedge and you think it's going to go the way you want it to go, gravity is always going to be the strongest factor. So always be ready to help it go the other way if you have to. And I cut below the lines that I made because those string lines were representing the bottom of the rafter, and the rafter is going to be sitting on a beam. So the beam is going to go across the tops of the posts, and then the rafter is going to sit on the beam. So I basically cut the beam's diameter out of the post in addition. Okay. Don't have a scaffolding over there. That's not safe at all. Might have to wait on that.
Doesn't want to fall.
I want to use the quieter saw so I can hear it.
Gotcha.
Cracking. Oh my god. Well, I know it's going to go the right way.
I mean, it looks nice.
Leave it like that. Huh? Yeah.
It made a nice arch.
Yeah. I know, it was a beautiful fall. It's like an Olympic diver. Look. I mean, we're getting into a real trust exercise with this beam.
Yeah. Everything Gotta have a boundary somewhere.
Yeah, right.
I'm just gonna push it towards you.
Okay.
You can lift up on it a little bit.
It's kind of stuck on this board here.
Keep going if you can. Yep. Keep the roll going there. Cool.
Nicely done.
Yeah, so always when I'm messing around with stuff like this, it's always leverage and balance points. You can see that once it got to its balance point, I didn't have to do anything anymore. But you never want to fight more than you have to. Just understand the weight distribution of the thing you're moving and work with that rather than against it. Because now it's just sitting there.
Sawdust always wants to find me. It's just
Yeah.
like,
So yeah, I'm kind of just like angling this little cradle along the line of the wall. Because these beams are the top of our walls. This is basically making the shape of the wall right now. Let's hold it there as I lift up so it doesn't want to roll. Nice.
looks like a horn.
That was a pretty
piece has a really cool curve to it.
Yeah, this one was then selected to curve. So if you could keep your hands on it there so it doesn't want to roll, because it kind of wants to roll that way.
Okay.
Yeah, just like that.
Yep.
You shouldn't have to do much. Just want to look at it, make sure it's doing what I was hoping. Oh, yes.
Yeah. That's fucking rad.
There we go. And now it begins. So we are just making these, I call them saddle notches. Kind of looks like a little saddle. And it's basically just giving giving the beam a place to sit so that it's not rolling around. And this isn't like purely joinery, because it is going to get timber lock screws to bolt it into place. So it's really just giving it a home to land in. And so we're just kind of mirroring the shape of the beam into the top of the post, and then also keeping in mind that this post is going to receive another beam going that way or that way. So I'm going to line this up so that it's where I want it, and then cut it at that kind of halfway point of the post, so the next beam can share this post as well. All right, so yeah, you can do your side first.
Beautiful piece of wood.
So nice. Do it at the same time. Nice. I think that we were that way a little bit more last time. I'm gonna slide up towards you. There we go.
Yeah, you could feel it.
Your way a little bit more. You can tell the difference from there.
Yeah, like literally when you placed it down, it was kind of like glue.